I was in my garage workshop when I heard them through the open window. My daughter Karen and her husband Brad were in the kitchen, and Brad's voice carried clearly through the autumn air. "David won't even notice," Brad said with a laugh. "The old man barely checks his statements. Besides, once this investment pays off, we'll put it all back before he knows it's gone." I froze, my hand still gripping the screwdriver I'd been using. The late September sunlight filtered through the dusty garage window, and for a moment, I wondered if I'd heard correctly. But then Karen spoke, her voice quieter but unmistakable. "Are you sure about this, Brad? That's a lot of money. Trust me, babe. Your dad's sitting on that line of credit doing nothing with it. $23,000 is nothing compared to what we'll make. He's got his pension, he's got savings. He doesn't need it like we do. $23,000. My line of credit." I stepped closer to the window, my heart pounding. The screwdriver slipped from my hand and clattered onto the concrete floor. I heard the conversation stop abruptly inside. I stood there, 68 years old, in the garage of the home I'd built with my own hands 40 years ago, and felt something crack inside my chest. It wasn't my heart, exactly. It was trust. My name is David Morrison, and I've lived in Calgary my whole life. Worked 37 years as an electrician before retiring at 65. My wife, Margaret, passed away 4 years ago from cancer, and the grief nearly broke me. Karen was there through it all, my only child, helping me sort through her mother's things, checking in on me daily. When she and Brad hit some financial troubles 18 months ago, they'd lost their townhouse, and I didn't hesitate. They moved into my 4-bedroom bungalow in Thorncliffe. Just temporary, they said. Just until they got back on their feet. I'd been happy to help. The house felt too empty without Margaret anyway. Having Karen and Brad here, even Brad's constant talk about his various business ventures, was better than the silence. I covered the utilities, bought most of the groceries. They were family, that's what you do. But standing in that garage, replaying Brad's words in my mind, I realized I'd been a fool. I didn't confront them that day. Instead, I went to my bank the next morning. It was a crisp October day, the kind where your breath fogs up and the leaves crunch under your feet. Scotia Bank on Center Street, where I'd banked for 40 years. Janice, my usual teller, greeted me with a warm smile. "Mr. Morrison, good to see you. What can I help you with today? I need to check my line of credit activity, please." Detailed statements for the past year. She printed them out, and I sat in the waiting area to review them. There it was, in black and white. 8 months of withdrawals, $1,500 here, $2,000 there, $3,000. The largest was $4,500, just last month. The total? $23,217. Every single withdrawal was made using online banking. My online banking. The login information I'd written down and kept in my desk drawer, because at my age, you can't remember all these passwords. The same desk where Karen had helped me organize my files after Margaret died. My hands shook as I held the papers. I'm not a wealthy man. I have my Canada pension plan, my old age security, a modest RRSP I'd been careful with. The line of credit was my safety net, my emergency fund, sitting there at prime, plus 1%, available if I ever needed major home repairs or, God forbid, if I got sick and needed care. Margaret's death had taught me to plan for the worst. "Mr. Morrison, is everything all right?" Janice had noticed my face. "Can you tell me if there's a way to see what these funds were used for?" She checked her computer. "It looks like most of these were e-transfers, sir, to a numbered company, and some to something called Crypto Wave Solutions." My stomach turned. Brad had been talking about cryptocurrency for months, trying to get me interested. "The future of money, David," he'd said. "Get in now before it's too late." I'd smiled and nodded, not really understanding and not really caring. Now I understood perfectly. I requested that my line of credit be frozen immediately, changed all my passwords, set up alerts on my accounts. Then I drove home, those bank statements folded in my jacket pocket, feeling like they were burning against my chest. Karen was in the kitchen when I walked in, making herself a coffee. She looked up and smiled. It was Margaret's smile, and that made everything hurt more. "Hey, Dad, how was your morning?" "Where's Brad?" I asked. "He's at a meeting downtown. Some new business opportunity. She stirred cream into her coffee. You want me to make you a cup? I pulled out the bank statements and laid them on the kitchen table. I want you to tell me about these. Karen's face went pale. The spoon clattered against the counter. For a long moment, she just stared at the papers, then at me, then back at the papers. Dad, $23,000, Karen. From my line of credit. Did you know about this? Her eyes filled with tears. It was supposed to be temporary. Brad said he had this investment opportunity, and we were going to pay you back with the returns. We were going to tell you, but then Brad said it would be easier if we just put it back before you noticed. Easier. I repeated the word like it was something foreign. Easier than asking? Easier than respecting the fact that it's my money, my financial security? You don't understand, Dad. We've been struggling so much. Brad's business hasn't taken off like we hoped, and we're drowning in debt. This crypto investment, it's going to turn everything around. We'll pay you back double, triple even. By stealing from me? It's not stealing. You're my father. We're family. Family helps each other. I sat down heavily in one of the kitchen chairs. My knees felt weak. Your mother and I helped you through university. We gave you $10,000 for your wedding. When you and Brad lost your townhouse, I opened my home without a second thought. I pay for food, heating, electricity. I've never asked you for a dime in rent, and you think that entitles you to steal from me? Dad, please don't use that word. What word should I use, Karen? You took money that wasn't yours, without permission, and tried to hide it. That's theft. I don't care if you're my daughter. I don't care if you plan to pay it back someday. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. Brad said you wouldn't mind. He said you had plenty, and this was our chance to finally get ahead, Brad said. Brad said. I stood up, anger flooding through me now. What did you say, Karen? Did you tell him no? Did you tell him to ask me like an adult? Or did you just go along with it because it was easier? She didn't answer, just covered her face with her hands. I heard the front door open. Brad's voice called out cheerfully. Babe, you won't believe the deal I just closed. He stopped when he entered the kitchen and saw us, saw Karen crying, saw the bank statements on the table. His expression shifted from surprise to calculation so quickly I almost missed it. David, I can explain. You can explain how you accessed my banking without permission? How you stole $23,000? Brad held up his hands, that salesman's smile sliding into place. Whoa, whoa. Let's not throw around words like stole, okay? We borrowed it. And I have to say, David, I'm a little hurt that you're taking this so personally. Karen and I are living here, contributing to the household. Contributing? I almost laughed. You haven't paid for a single thing since you moved in. You eat my food, use my electricity, my water, my gas, and now you've helped yourself to my credit. We've been paying you back in other ways, Brad said, his tone turning defensive. Karen cooks, cleans, does your laundry. That has value, David. What? You think you deserve free maid service? The audacity took my breath away. My daughter does those things because she chooses to, because we're family, not as payment for living here. And it certainly doesn't give you the right to raid my bank accounts. Brad's mask slipped further. Look, old man, the money's invested. It's going to triple in the next 6 months. You're getting upset over nothing. Old man, I repeated softly. Is that what I am to you, Brad? Just some old man with money you can use? I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. I looked at my daughter, who was still crying silently. Both of you need to leave. I want you out of my house. Karen's head snapped up. Dad, no, please. We have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you stole from me. We'll pay it back. Brad jumped in. Every cent, I swear. Just give us 6 months. The crypto market is about to explode. And I've frozen the line of credit, I said. I've changed all my passwords. I've set up alerts on every account I have. And if you don't pay back that $23,000 within 90 days, I'm going to the police to file a fraud report. You wouldn't, Karen whispered. Try me. Brad's face flushed red. This is ridiculous. We're family. You don't call the cops on family over money. You're right, I said. Family doesn't steal from each other in the first place. The next hour was a blur. Shouting, more crying, Brad insisting I was overreacting, that I was being unreasonable, that I clearly didn't understand how investments worked. Karen begging me to reconsider, to give them another chance. Me, standing firm despite the way my chest ached every time I looked at my daughter's face. Finally, I said the words that ended it. You have until the end of the month to find somewhere else to live. That gives you 3 weeks. I'll help you with first month's rent on an apartment. But that's all, and I want a repayment plan for the money. In writing, signed by both of you. Brad sneered. First month's rent? That's generous. What happened to all that family loyalty you were just preaching about? I'm still helping you, I said quietly. I'm just not letting you rob me blind while I do it. They moved out 2.5 weeks later. Karen barely spoke to me during that time. Brad didn't speak to me at all. They found a basement suite in Forest Lawn, cheaper than they wanted but all they could afford. I gave them $1,500 for first and last month's rent, and they signed a repayment agreement, $300 a month, until the debt was cleared. It would take over 6 years at that rate, but it was something. The house felt different after they left. Not better, exactly. Just different. Empty in a new way. I sat in the living room that first night alone, the silence pressing in around me. Margaret's photo was on the mantel, her smile frozen in time. I messed up, I told her picture. I trusted them too much. I made it too easy. But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't quite right. The problem wasn't that I'd trusted them. The problem was that they'd violated that trust. There's a difference. The following week, I did something I'd been thinking about since that day in the garage. I contacted a real estate agent, and we listed the house. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, double garage, mature trees in the yard, all the memories Margaret and I had built there. It sold in 9 days. The market was strong, and I got a good price. I used part of the proceeds to buy a 2-bedroom condo in one of the new seniors' buildings in Kensington. Bright, modern, with an elevator and a common room where residents gathered for coffee and cards. The building had security, a concierge, and best of all, a policy that required all overnight guests to be registered at the front desk. The rest of the money went into a combination of GICs and a high-interest savings account. I met with a financial advisor and set up a proper estate plan. Everything locked down tight. Power of attorney to my lawyer, not to Karen. All my accounts monitored. My will clear and unambiguous. Karen called me 2 weeks after I moved into the condo. It was early November, and I was unpacking the last of my tools in the building's workshop space. Residents could book time there, and I'd been looking forward to getting back to my woodworking. Dad, I heard you sold the house. I did. You didn't tell me. I didn't think I needed your permission. Silence. On the other end. Then, where are you living? I gave her the address. Another pause. A seniors building? Dad, you're only 68. You don't need to be in one of those places. I like it here, I said. And I did. The condo was 800 square feet of brand new appliances and big windows. My bedroom. A guest room for when my old work buddies visited. A balcony where I could sit with my morning coffee and watch the city wake up. It's safe. It's mine. Nobody's going to steal from me here. The jab hit home. I heard her sharp intake of breath. Dad, I'm so sorry. I've wanted to say that for weeks, but I didn't think you'd want to hear from me. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught? Both, she admitted, but mostly that I did it. Brad convinced me it was okay, that you'd understand if you knew it was for a good cause. But that was wrong. I can see that now. What about Brad? Has he changed his mind? She was quiet for a moment. Brad and I are separated. He moved out last week. That surprised me. What happened? The crypto investment fell through. All the money's gone. And when I suggested we get jobs to pay you back faster, he told me I was choosing you over him, that a wife should support her husband's dreams, not side with her father against him. She laughed bitterly. $23,000 of your money gone, Dad, vanished into some digital wallet we can't even access anymore. I closed my eyes. All that money, my safety net, just gone. The anger rose up again, hot and sharp. I got a job, Karen continued. Receptionist at a dental office. It doesn't pay much, but it's something. I'm still going to make those $300 payments. It'll take longer now without Brad contributing, but I promise I'll pay you back. Okay. Okay? That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say, Karen? That it's fine? That we can just forget about it? No. Her voice cracked. I don't expect that. I miss you, Dad. I miss talking to you. I miss Sunday dinners and your terrible jokes and the way you used to fix everything I broke. My throat tightened. I missed her too. God, I missed her. But I also remembered standing in that kitchen, looking at those bank statements, feeling the foundation of my life shift under my feet. I'm not ready yet, I said finally. Maybe someday, but not yet. I understand. She was crying now. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. That's why this hurts so much. After we hung up, I sat in my new workshop for a long time, surrounded by the smell of fresh paint and sawdust. Through the window, I could see the Bow River, gray and steady under the November sky. I thought about Margaret, about how she would have handled this. She was always better with Karen than I was, knew when to be firm and when to soften. But Margaret wasn't here, and I had to figure this out on my own. The truth was, I didn't know if Karen and I would find our way back to each other. Trust, once broken, doesn't just heal because you want it to. It takes time. It takes consistent action. It takes both people willing to do the hard work. But for now, I had my condo, my independence, my boundaries. I had my tools and my workshop time. I had coffee with other residents in the common room, people who understood what it meant to rebuild your life in your 60s and 70s. I had security and peace of mind. A few weeks later, I met James in the workshop. He was 73, a retired carpenter with steady hands and a quiet demeanor. We started working on a project together, building a bookshelf for the common room. It felt good to create something again, to focus on the clean lines of wood and the satisfaction of joints that fit perfectly. My son tried to get me to invest in his restaurant, James told me one afternoon, sanding down a piece of pine. Wanted $50,000. Said it was a sure thing. Did you give it to him? Hell no. James laughed. Told him if he wanted to be a restaurateur, he could go to the bank like everyone else. We're not ATMs just because we're their parents. What did he say to that? Called me selfish. Didn't talk to me for 6 months. James shrugged. But now the restaurant's open. He's making it work, and he's proud because he did it himself. We have dinner there once a month. I pay for the meal, and that's enough. I thought about that as we worked. About how sometimes helping your children means not rescuing them. About how boundaries aren't about love. They're about respect. Christmas came. Karen sent me a card with $300 tucked inside, the first repayment. Her handwriting on the card was shaky. Dad, I'm trying. Love, Karen. I deposited the check and sent her a text. Received. Thank you. It wasn't much. It wasn't forgiveness or reconciliation, but it was something. New Year's Eve, I stood on my balcony and watched the fireworks over the Stampede grounds. 68 years old, divorced from my old life, building a new one. It wasn't the retirement I'd imagined when Margaret was alive, but it was mine. The condo association was planning a spring garden on the rooftop. I'd volunteered to help build the planter boxes. There were weekly card games in the common room, movie nights, a book club I'd started attending. My neighbor, Patricia, had invited me for coffee twice, and I was thinking about saying yes next time. Life wasn't perfect. I still woke up some mornings and reached for Margaret across the empty bed. I still felt the ache when I thought about Karen, about the relationship we used to have. Some nights, I wondered if I'd been too harsh, if I should have just let it go. But then I'd remember Brad's voice. The old man barely checks his statements. I'd remember Karen saying, "Family helps each other," as if that justified theft. I'd remember feeling foolish and used and small in my own home. No, I'd made the right choice. Hard didn't mean wrong. In February, Karen called again. "Dad, I have something to tell you. I filed for divorce from Brad, and I've been seeing a therapist. She's helping me understand some things about boundaries and codependency and why I went along with what Brad wanted." That's good, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. Would you... She hesitated. Would you maybe want to meet for coffee sometime? Just coffee. I'm not asking to come over or anything. Just an hour. I have things I want to say to you. I looked around my condo, at the life I'd built. Safe, controlled, mine. And I thought about James and his son, about how 6 months of silence led to monthly dinners. Okay, I said. Coffee. Saturday at 10? There's a cafe near my place. Really? The hope in her voice nearly broke me. Really. But Karen, I need you to understand something. This doesn't fix everything. This doesn't mean we go back to how things were. I know, Dad. I'm not asking for that. I just want a chance to show you I've changed, that I'm changing. We met that Saturday at a little cafe on Kensington Road. Karen looked different, thinner, tired. But when she saw me, her face lit up with that smile that was so much like Margaret's. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about the therapy, about realizing how Brad had manipulated her, about her new job in the basement suite and her plans for the future. She apologized, really apologized, without excuses or justifications. I betrayed you, Dad. I chose my husband over my father, money over integrity, and easy over right. And I'm so sorry. I reached across the table and took her hand. I forgive you. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'm going to put myself in that position again. I know. I don't expect that. She squeezed my hand. I just want a chance to earn back your trust. However long it takes. We started meeting for coffee every other Saturday. Short meetings, neutral ground. Slowly, carefully, we began rebuilding. She kept making the payments. $300 a month, like clockwork. When she got a raise at work, she increased it to $400 without me asking. In May, I invited her to see my condo. She walked through it slowly, taking in the bright kitchen, the balcony with its view of the river. The second bedroom I'd turned into a proper workshop space. It's beautiful, Dad. You've made a real home here. I have. And I meant it. This wasn't just a place I was living temporarily, waiting for my real life to start again. This was my real life. At 68, I'd learned that you can start over. You can set boundaries. You can love someone and still protect yourself from them. We sat on the balcony with coffee, watching the river flow past. Karen told me about a night class she was taking, accounting. Said she wanted to understand money better, to never be in that position again. I'm seeing someone, she said suddenly. His name is Michael. He's an accountant, actually. That's how we met, in the class. That's good. I'm not going to introduce you, she said quickly. Not yet. Not until I'm sure about him. And not until you're ready. I appreciated that. The fact that she understood the bridge between us was still fragile, still being rebuilt one careful plank at a time. Summer came. I joined the rooftop garden committee and spent my mornings tending tomatoes and peppers alongside Patricia and James and a dozen other residents. My hands remembered the work, the feel of soil and water and growing things. It reminded me of the garden Margaret and I used to keep, before the cancer, before everything changed. One evening in August, as I was watering the tomatoes, Patricia said, "You know, David, a bunch of us are going to the folk festival next weekend. You should come." I almost said no. That was my instinct now, to protect my solitude, my hard-won independence. But then I thought about what I'd learned this past year, about balance, about how boundaries didn't mean isolation. "Okay," I said. "I'll come." The folk festival was crowded and loud and wonderful. I sat on a blanket with Patricia and James and 4 other residents from the building, listening to music under the summer sky. Patricia's shoulder brushed mine, and she smiled at me, and I smiled back. That night, lying in bed, I thought about the journey I'd taken, from the garage workshop where I'd overheard Brad's betrayal, through the pain of confrontation and loss, to this new life I'd built. It hadn't been easy. There were still hard days, still moments when I questioned every decision I'd made. But I was here. I was safe. I was living on my own terms. Karen and I had coffee yesterday. She's been divorced for 3 months now, officially. The accounting class led to a better job, bookkeeping for a small construction company. She's making enough to increase her payments to $500 a month. At this rate, She'll have the debt paid off in less than 3 years. I'm thinking about going back to school, she told me. Getting my CPA designation. It'll take time, but I think I can do it. Your mother would be proud of you, I said. Karen's eyes filled with tears. Do you think so? I know so. And I'm proud of you too. We're not all the way back. I don't know if we ever will be, not to where we were before, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the relationship we're building now, based on honesty and boundaries and mutual respect, is better than the one we had before. I'm 69 now, my hair is whiter, my knees are stiffer, but I wake up every morning in my condo and feel grateful. Grateful for the lesson I learned. Painful as it was. Grateful for the strength I found to stand up for myself. Grateful for the new life I've built. Tomorrow, Patricia and I are going to a matinee. Just as friends, we've both said. But her smile suggests maybe, someday, it could be more. And I'm open to that possibility in a way I wasn't 6 months ago. Life continues. The garden grows. The river flows. And I'm learning, slowly but surely, that it's never too late to protect yourself, to start over, to choose peace over toxic familiarity. My name is David Morrison. I'm 69 years old. And I'm finally, truly, living on my own terms.